Did you know that e-bikes could be washed and used on rainy days?
Don't look at me like that, I know that some of you had doubts about this. Hello adventurers, my name is Diogo Guerra and this is Off-Road, of course. Some people say that electrical vehicles are the future. Some others say that this is all a terrible idea that will never work in real life. And then there are others that they simply love combustion engines so much that they are not willing to let them go without a fight. Well, I always wanted to join this lovely skirmish, but without any personal experience with EVs, I simply couldn't. Up until now.
Let's begin with a visit to Grenami, the store where I lost my electric bike virginity.
Nowadays, electric vehicles come in all shapes and sizes. We have the scooters, the bicycles, the mopeds, the motorcycles, skates and more. Small scooters like this one can be folded and are the perfect companion to take on a bus or a train to another town. And if you need something bigger with more overland capacity, then you have the Cobra Climber, with big inflatable wheels, a flexible chassis and a whopping 500 watts of power, which could be expanded to 1300 watts, which is more than enough to earn you a VIP ticket to Valhalla. And then we have the mopeds and the motorcycles, both clutchless, gearless, and in this case with the same motor, same power and about the same range.
I spent a week test riding the motorcycle, the Horwin CR6, the legal equivalent to a 125cc. The goal was not to review it, but to learn as much as I could about the EV experience. No matter what you think about electric vehicles, there is a huge potential to electric motors that we simply can't ignore. They are simple to build, lightweight, extremely powerful and efficient. On top of that, they are virtually maintenance-free and extremely versatile. By default, all electric motors are gearless and clutchless, something that probably won't work for technical off-road, but that is a clear advantage when moving around town.
The problem with EVs are the batteries. They are expensive, they are ecologically dubious, and then the range, the charging time and their life cycle are a huge concern. To make matters worse, your friendly neighborhood mechanic won't touch them with a 10-foot pole. Even so, we are witnessing the rise of the e-cars, the e-bicycles, e-scooters, e-mopeds and city e-motorcycles just like this one. They are quickly becoming mainstream, but not the big e-motorcycles meant for the open road. Why? Well, most of us are simply too immature. We all want to feel and to sound like the king of the jungle, not like a dork on a zipline. But the biggest issue is not the sound, of course, it's the range. Big motorcycles, especially the adventure ones, they are the symbol of freedom, and us, the riders, will abominate any sort of range limitations. Even if e-motorcycles had a 500-kilometer range, without a way of quickly recharging them while having a beer, we would still feel our fantasies oppressed.
It seems the technology is not there yet, not for big e-bikes. So let's take a closer look at the smaller ones, meant for city use, and see what the electric future could have in store for us.
One thing I really like about the CR6 is that it feels like the bike was taken seriously. It doesn't feel like a plastic toy pretending to be a real motorcycle. The seat is a bit short for 2 passengers, but it's comfortable. The suspensions are firm and despite its small size, the ergonomics are reasonably well done. The brakes are really strong and confidence-inspiring. Actually, they didn't even need to be this good for the bike to feel safe. The real range I got from this thing was somewhere between 70 and 80 kilometers, but I have not been kind to it. I used it around town like it's recommended for maximum battery length, but also a bit on the open road and even highway. And just for good measure, I even did some drag racing with other city bikes to assert my dominance. Well, kind of. The CR6 was way faster than the 50cc mopeds, but slower than the KTM 125 or the PCX 125. The top speed GPS measured was around 85 km per hour, which is not much, but more than enough to go around town or to take you to the next one. But you will feel the hills. The bike will slow down slightly, just like a 125 would. So don't expect any electrical miracles here. The advertised torque, according to the brochure, it's 260 Nm, and that simply cannot be true. To put that in perspective, the BMW GS 1250 has 143 Nm. Whatever torque it really has, it is instantaneous, because it's electric. So, unlike traditional mopeds, when you accelerate you don't feel that sort of a drag like the clutch is sleeping all the time. It just goes, and that's a very satisfying, comfortable and, to be honest, a bit of an addictive feeling. To put it in other words, it feels just like a moped, but better, in every way. Here, inside the purely aesthetic fuel tank, you have a compartment. And this is precisely the kind of thing that I expect to see in the future electric bikes. Practicalities and solutions that you cannot have on traditional motorcycles. Another thing that traditional motorcycles don't have is an electric charger. The CR6 uses a rather small one, and it will charge about 70% of the battery in only 4 hours. I tested that myself. One thing that everyone is always very concerned about is the battery life cycle. What they told me, it's because this bike has a battery management system, the only concern you must have is not to leave the bike on your garage for days or weeks straight with a low battery. Keep the batteries full, keep the batteries happy. The electric motor is very quiet, so you can hear the birds and the wind and all those nice things. But you can still hear its characteristic whizzing sound. Surprisingly, I think this is actually a good thing, because the sound increases and changes when the bike speeds up, and in a weird way that satisfies the need to know what the machine is doing. Still, regarding the sound of EVs, or the lack of sound of the EVs, there is a huge problem here that I don't really know how to solve, which is, because the bike is small and noiseless, most drivers will not be aware of your presence. You will feel invisible. And the biggest problem here is that these bikes are targeting young riders that did not develop yet their third eye. So I'm afraid they will have a lot of accidents because nobody knows they are there. Another problem of the lack of noise coming from the engine or the exhausts is that you will be able to hear all the parasitic mechanical noises coming from the motorcycle. So let's say the rattling of plastics, the chain, the brake pads, everything that could make a noise, you will hear it. So my advice for electric bike manufacturers is that they develop technologies that allow the bike to be silent even when the maintenance is not perfect. To wrap up the topic of sound, we have this. It feels a bit unnecessary, to say the least. But on the other hand, this is exactly the type of thing that I would expect to see on electric bikes. You know, fun things, jingles, lights, gadgets, gizmos, things that make the bike feel futuristic, new, playful, fun, and so on. Basically to follow Tesla's example. Bring the best out of this technology and help these bikes stand apart from the traditional ones. I'm pretty sure a lot of you will have interesting ideas on what an electric bike could have in terms of gizmos, gadgets, whatever, so please write them down on the comments. I'm anxious to read them. Overall, I must say that I'm pretty pleased with the Horween CR6 and in general with the concept of city electric vehicle. Regarding bigger motorcycles meant for the open road, I am optimistic, but I'm not holding my breath. Well, and now I'm done. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, to subscribe, to hit the thingy and to share. See you next week and happy rides!